Friends, welcome to another Accelerating Change, the program about people who are doing things to change the current paradigm in society. And today I have an amazing guest, Yossi Ronen, and he is a fellow who went through some amazing and unexpected situations in his life and experiences, and then he's here today to share these events with us. Yossi, welcome, man.
Hello, Marco. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Yossi, I would like to talk about your experiences, obviously. Yeah, I found out about you through Grant Cameron's YouTube channel. And when I listened to your interview with him, I thought it was just amazing. And it's something that the candor of your of what you wrote on your book and the candor with which you speak about your experiences is something that really touched me, man. And I wanted you to share what happened with you, and especially what are the implications, or what were the implications of your experience to who you are today. So if you could, to start with, tell us the name of your book and where people can find it, please.
Yes. First of all, I want to apologize for my English. It's not polished, and but I will try as much as I can. So,
my English is fine, my friend. I speak English as a second language as well, and in our funnel, people who are listening to us, they're used to my accent, so yours will be fine.
Okay. Yeah, the name of the book is One Face-to-Face Contact. This is the main title, and people can find the book like that. One Face-to-Face Contact. And yes, the contact was 40 years ago. And from then on, my life went to be concentrated on trying to understand the meaning of the contact, because it was very influencing me. In the beginning, it was not such an easy thing to do, because on those times there were no internet or enough knowledge about other people that had this similar contact, and I was alone with that, and I wasn't sure that what happened to me was normal enough to even talk about it with others, because it was too weird. It was too I didn't heard about aliens and this kind of stuff, so it was really a shock. In the beginning, it was with lots of fear, and then it continued to be more understandable. And the book is the realization of many years of what really happened there, and how to understand it in our rational way of thinking and understanding. So because it was really,
sorry,
yeah, it was really total different kind of reality that I met. Maybe I will tell some of the contact itself, so it will be more understandable. I was 21 years old then, and I went to United States to work with my brother. He has a small business of painting houses in the neighborhood, and he invited me to earn some money to go to school, to go to college after that, university. And I went there to work for a year, and it happened 2 or 3 months after I went there. It was afternoon, it was a daylight yet, and we went to rest. my brother went to his bedroom and rest, and I had my bed in the living room, and I slept, and suddenly I found myself out of my body for the first time. Now, this out of body is very crucial because it seems that that was the way for the visitors. I call them visitors, not aliens, but it doesn't matter for me the name, but I call them visitors. And it seems that the visitors, that was the way they start to communicate with me. And it seems that it helped me very much later to understand the contact itself.
So you were sleeping. You went to
I was
sleep for
sleeping.
rest in the afternoon. Okay.
Yeah, my head, I was sleeping on the bed. My head was turning to the wall next to the bed. And suddenly I saw myself, my body sleeping on the bed from up, like from up, upper visual way of looking. And I understood that I'm out of my body. And it was a very good feeling to be, it was the first time that I had that out of body. And it's a really good feeling that you in an instant realize that you are not only the body, and you are actually something much bigger, wider, or different from the body itself. And it's a very nice feeling. But when you are in the out-of-body experience itself, it's obvious for you. It's like your natural way of understanding things. Only when I wake up and I remember that I was out of my body, I was amazed by that. But in the situation itself, you don't think from the usual place that you think. You don't think from your brain or from your usual rational thinking. You think from your consciousness. And that consciousness is much more aware of the reality around.
Okay.
So I was, and in that situation that the consciousness was looking at my body, I saw the creatures, the visitors too, in the room. There were four or five of them in the room. One of them was standing near my head on the bed, concentrated on my head, probably doing something with his consciousness. I don't know what he did, but I felt very comfort with that. I felt good. I was even happy that he is looking at my head and communicate with. And the other visitors were in the room. And they were walking in the room like amused by doing that. And one of them was looking at the table. There was a paper there, and he crumbled it in his hands. Heard the sound of the paper, felt it in his fingers. And they didn't had voices or something, but I could felt that they were happy and with the situation that it's going on now in the room.
So do you think that that was a novelty for them as well? They were as amazed with the situation from their perspective as you were from yours?
Yes, it was like one of them was walking on the carpet on the floor, and he was not balanced 100%. And it was like, it reminded me when I saw my child for the first time that he could walk, and was so happy that he can walk without holding something. He was too. He was like amazed by the feeling of probably having a body and walking with legs, something like that. That was his joyful moment in the room. The other were looking at things that they were very curious. They were very like studying, looking and observing like me and the things in the room. And we felt very, in that situation that I was out of my body, we felt very close to each other. Actually, I felt I know them.
Okay.
I know them like, I felt that I know them like a very old friends or family or related family from long time ago, like my childhood, early childhood or something like that. I knew them and we were like friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then I knew that, okay, I'm going back to the body.
How long,
and
what was the perception of time before you went back to your body? Minutes, 10 minutes that you could see yourself from above in the room. You could see yourself down and you could see them. Was there any perspective of time?
I think it was 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay.
I don't have any actually a way to measure the time.
Mm-hmm.
It could be much longer or much shorter. I don't know. But
okay.
You know, the measurement of time from here, it's like 2 or 3 minutes.
But for your consciousness, how did it feel? Did it feel infinite? Did it feel it had been going for a long time? Was there any time distortion? Was there a perception or a distorted perception of your logical mind, and you counted the minutes and where you were consciously at that stage?
At that stage, my consciousness was totally different. It was my visual sight was not limited by the way my eyes see usually with the body. It was totally different. It's like, first of all, I didn't have a body. I could imagine myself as something very transparent because it was easy for me to identify myself with something solid. So I could, like trying to look at my hands or my legs, and I saw something like a transparent something that is me, like a child or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I didn't have really a body. I just was a me, a conscious me of watching things. And my awareness could do things like in the physical world, like concentrated on different places in the room or even in the other room. I remember that I could like looking to my brother's room and saw him sleeping there with his eyes closed and breathing and even dreaming. I could know that in a way. And there was no limit of borders of walls or borders of sounds. Mm-hmm. Or it was all connected in a way that my awareness could choose where to go or in what to be concentrated. And the motivation was only my curiosity to do something.
I had another guest here, Greg Boyle, and he does astral traveling, and he has a lot of experience. And that's what he says. There's no limit to where you are or where you want to go. You are everywhere, every time, since there's no time nor space.
Yes, no time.
No time, no location.
Now I know the way to say it in a word that there is no time or place, because in the experience everything is very flexible and everything is not bordered like we know here. Everything is like in your control of watching at. The reality is not yours. It's not that you imagine the reality that you see. You know that the reality is given to you, but you have a free access to everything without the limits of our normal way of looking or hearing and even understanding.
Do you
The
think
thinking is different.
Do you think it's a more objective understanding than a subjective understanding that we have when the emotions get in the way or when we're limited to this brain and this body?
I think it's even more different. It's not objective or subjective. It's to combine with. It's like to be one with.
Okay.
If you want to see what's going on the other room, you like taking your awareness to that room, and you are connecting to that. So it's not that you get information or give information, you get combined with it. It's like your consciousness can be one with everything.
Wow. Without
limits. And the experience is going from place to place of your wanting to understand or to visualize or to have the emotion of it. You can go and have the experience of everything by being one with. It's like this is the nature way of the consciousness awareness, to be one with what he wants to be.
And then you mentioned that in the book you also mentioned that you also felt that you were one with their consciousness. So going back, so then you were observing yourself and observing them in the room, walking around clumsily, and one of them by your head, and then you're feeling very comfortable, yeah, very at ease, very in peace. And then what happened?
Yes, and then I knew that I'm going to wake up in that situation, and we were like laughing at that second very much with each other. It seems that we were laughing of what is going to happen, and I don't remember actually what was the laugh, but they are very they laugh a lot. It seems to be. I'm not so much, in sense of humor and laughing, but they are like small children, innocent small children, that everything for them is very joyful and happy. And that's what I felt with them. And then I went back to my body and woke up. Now I woke up with my eyes to the wall yet. And the first thinking was my memory of the out of body, that I didn't specify to myself I was out of my body. I thought I dreamed. I thought I woke up from a dream. And I said to myself, what a weird dream of green creatures walking in the room, and I am sleeping and I am looking at my body. I didn't knew the concept of out of body then. I was very young and I didn't know about this kind of stuff. So I thought it was a dream that I'm out of my body and see green creatures, and we were laughing, and I started to laugh to myself, waking up, open my eyes still to the wall, and then suddenly I heard a voice from the room behind me. And that voice was very strange, and I knew that my brother is sleeping on the other room, and nobody else is in the room, but I felt noises of like crumbling things or footsteps, and I started to be tense from that because I thought maybe a thief came to the room. That was my first emotion from that noises. So I became a little bit tense. My heart became, much more faster, and I turned around, sat on my bed to see if there is a thief in the room or something like that, that trying to be quiet, not to wake me up.
Mm-hmm.
And in that instance, I saw them. The same one,
They
the
were
same creatures that I
there.
saw
They were physically there
at the same
room.
place. Yes. The one that was looking at my body was half a meter from me, looking at my face, looking at my eyes with his black, big eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one were in the room standing looking at me. And I didn't know if they were surprised that I woke up or it was meant to be like that. Because I was very confused. And the first thing that I felt was a fear, immense, deep, black fear of death. The fear was...
Were you afraid of them, or were you afraid of what could happen with you, or what they could cause you, or if they would harm you? What was the fear?
Yes, it's all of them together. It's all of them together. Because first of all, you're not really understand what's going on. I thought it was a dream, and suddenly I see those creatures from my dream. Even now that I sit in the bed and my eyes open and I look at them, and so it was like, what, I'm still dreaming, and I thought that I woke up. It was frightened itself. Only the thinking that I'm dreaming and I think that I woke up. That was very frightened thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I pinched my leg to feel the pain, to see what's going on, and it was really painful. So it was obvious that I'm awake.
To them, this must have looked really weird. They are there looking at you and they think, why is this guy hurting himself? For them,
Yes.
it would have been, Jesus, what's wrong with this man?
Yes, what's going on there? Yes, it developed to a situation that my heart began to be, pumping in a very strong and fast. I was very in a deep fear. I didn't understand what's going on. And when the one that was close to me looked at my eyes with his black eyes, I felt immense power from him. And I felt the immense, the strange, I felt that he's so strange that he's not from here, that is not from our nature. And that itself was very frightened.
Did you have any concept? I think you said you didn't. Did you have any concept of possible life outside Earth, extraterrestrials, or the non-human intelligence? Did you have? Was any of that known to you?
Well, I read some science fiction books, but in that year, in '81, there was no. I didn't saw any books of people that say that they have this contact.
Okay.
I never saw a picture of that little visitor that I saw. It looked like the grays, but it was totally green, and his eyes were different. Very, very like childhood body, and long hands, and very black eyes, and so I didn't have any knowledge or memory of this kind of creature,
okay,
or alien. So I thought that maybe I lost my mind, that I see that group of visitors in my room, and or it's really truth, and from his eyes I saw so much power, and I felt that he knows my thinking by his, it's like, it seems like I understood that he can like know what I feel, that he feel my fear, and he is like much more stronger and than me, and that feeling was very, very frightened, and I didn't know what to do. I was totally frozen. I couldn't move. I hardly breathed from fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what to do, and I think that because I didn't have any other thing to do, I tried to think that maybe the fear that I feel now is my fear, because a minute ago I just remember that we were like friends, and I remember the love that we have to each other. So I hang on that memory, and I told to myself, listen, maybe try to communicate or look at him without the fear for a second. Maybe it's your fear, maybe you are afraid, but it's not because there are something dangerous. And in the second that I did that, I realized that I know that he can feel my feelings and know my thoughts because I'm connected to him too, and I know that he can know my feelings because I know his feelings, because I know what he is thinking. So in that second, something else happened. I started to be concentrated on my consciousness that is aware of his consciousness. It was totally open. He didn't try to say something or do something or make me calm or telling me something. It was just passive, standing, looking at me and like waiting for me to do whatever I want. And what I did is started to be concentrated on his consciousness that was connected to mine. And then something very totally different happened. I started to really experience his consciousness. What I mean is that I started to experience his way of thinking, his feelings, his way of to be aware of reality.
So how is it different to ours? How was it different to yours back then, or probably to yours now?
Well, there is something very, very basic different in the way they are aware to reality. Okay. It's much closer to the way I felt without my body. What I mean is that their awareness is observing the reality by connecting to it, not by thinking of it or like judging it. It's good, it's bad, it's nice, it's not nice, it's far, it's close, it's yesterday, it's tomorrow. Mm-hmm. It's direct connect to the reality, and that is the way of having the experience of being in the reality for them.
Okay.
It's totally different, and it's very hard to explain, I think, because it's such a different way of thinking that when I try to say it with words, there is no words that can explain that kind of awareness of consciousness, because all of our words or thoughts are divided to like parts that came to one idea.
Mm-hmm.
For them, they don't need the parts, they just connect to the whole thing. And for us, it's very hard because we need to have like cause and effect to understand something changing or reason for something to happen. For them, it's not like that.
A lot of people who I think have had similar experience to yours and other expansions of consciousness, which I think ultimately one could say that was what happened to you. You expanded your consciousness at that very specific moment of your life, I would say. People talk about the difference between know something and understand something. So it would be like, you don't have to understand because you feel. I think would be a mix maybe of feeling, knowing, and understanding all together mixed, but without necessarily having to analyze, break into the parts and make cognition of the parts to get the entirety of the knowledge.
Yes, exactly. It's like a direct contact to the. I explained it maybe in the way that they showed me this understanding. I mean, for instance, they didn't teach me things. They didn't tell me, things are like this and that, and you have to understand this and that. They just let me experience. And then I develop it to a rational thinking for me as a human to understand it as a human. But what they give is the raw experience of things. And this is the way they experience reality. So, for instance, the way they contact with each other, there were a couple in the room. They don't have to talk to each other or send information to each other or receive information. They were in a very natural way, were connected to each other thinking and feeling and the real essence of each other, like maybe soul or consciousness. And they can do it in their will. It's not that they have to be connected or that they have one brain, not at all. Each one of them were very special or very have his own character, his own thinking, his own emotion, his own way of looking at things, his own way of telling himself what he see, but they were sharing it all the time. Like they don't have to share, they can experience it with each other if they want. If they want to experience only his private thinking, he could do that. It's all totally free. And because of that connection that they have with each other, they were very calm with each other. They had immense love and openness to each other because they didn't have to hide something from each other, because they don't need to, because they enjoyed the openness to each other. And for us, it's really weird because we want our privacy. We think of our individuality and privacy as a very deep and important thing for ourselves, but for them, it's a border. It's like it's a limitation. They don't need it because they enjoy the the oneness with each other. And because of that, they don't need to lie to each other or to hide something from each other or to, they didn't have any kind of ego of one on another. They didn't have any feeling of I'm stronger or I'm wiser than the other. Really like innocent children.
I think it hearing you saying gives me the idea that I'm probably on the ethical and moral level of their society. There's no need to hide because there's nothing to be ashamed of, because the basic understanding of what it is to be at that advanced level of being surpasses all of that. All of this in fears and feelings of inequalities, of lack of self-worth that we have in our dimension, world, societies, because I think we are still highly primitive on a consciousness level, and they're beyond that. So it's like the common good, they have that basic understanding of what it is to be in society, in community, but then because of that, it's so normal for them, they can relax and share at the same time as being themselves.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And this simple thing, I think, is very crucial for understanding how maybe we can be at peace with each other, because they are totally relaxed with each other and don't have, any, because of that simple thing that they can share their consciousness with each other, their thoughts, because they are open and transparent to each other. And in instant, if you are like that with each other, you feel you first feel sympathy to the other one, because you like feel him in your heart. It's very open, and you feel his needs, his, I don't know, and you're open to that. You cannot fight with someone. I mean, you don't have wars because of that, because no one lie to each other. There is no, I mean, it's all open. And
it sounds like something that we here eventually develop with long-term friends, that really good friend of yours that we all, maybe all of us, hopefully all lucky enough to have at least one very good friend for many, many years. And you are totally at ease with that person, where you don't need to hide your issues. They can make fun of you because there's no evil or maleficence in it. It's just trust, complete trust, and feeling comfortable in someone else's
exactly. Yeah. That's why my first feeling for them was like a memory from very old childhood friends, because it was so innocent, and the connection is very innocent, very pure, very transparent, and you feel very good with a company like that. It's very comforting and very joyful, and you feel very secure. There is no fear,
and loving
at all.
I would say
The
very
fear, you feel a very natural way of loving. It's not like you try to love, or you get, you have to try to love or something like. It's very natural and basic, the feeling that they have to not only to each other, because they are so open. It's like they are aware to that level of consciousness that exists in everything, in human beings too, in nature, and I felt that confidence and reassurance from me too, from them. When I was open, when I could open my consciousness and lower my fear, that's what I felt from them. I felt very, very loving and not threatened feeling to me, and even a lot of appreciation for me as a living being that have to live in his limited way of living. Probably they are appreciate that we live this, they were very curious to have the feeling of being in a body, and they appreciate that we live like that.
Okay, so then and then you connected with them, and then everything just flowed, as you say, in unity with the whole group, always just with that specific one that was looking at you. Did you feel the connection with all of them?
With all of them, because he was connected to them, and each one of them were connected to each other. And when they let me to be connected to their consciousness, we were all like connected to each other in the same instance. We could feel each one
separately at the same time as in the whole group.
Yes, you could yes, it's like we were one, but in that one we have our own personality, sharing his personality with others.
Wow, man, this must be
yes, it was amazing.
World. Excuse the pun.
It was pure
out of this world.
It was pure happiness. It was like and another thing that I think is very important is when I had the chance to observe, to have their consciousness, I was very curious, and it was a very great, pleasant feeling. It's like you are, it's like you are connecting with something new that is amazing, and you are very curious to go and observe and look and see new things and this kind of, and their consciousness was very rich and had a lot of I don't know how to say, memories or things or ideas and when I went inside, it seems like I'm looking for something very important that was in the basic of their consciousness. And that thing was something very basic and lightened with immense love that was there in their consciousness and that they were aware of, and it was not them. What I mean is that in their consciousness, I could observe that they are aware of a strong life, love, or consciousness that give them life.
Okay.
It took me years to understand that this is probably what we say, and we call it God. But then it had nothing that I can talk about or measure or say about it more than a deep love that give life. I mean, it seems that in their consciousness, they were very aware in a very natural way that they have been created by something.
Okay.
What we say about God, and it's very difficult to say the word God because I know that each one of us think about God differently.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say God, someone think probably something else than what I want to say. But for them, God didn't have any shape or person or character or good or bad or a size or time
And
or nothing. It was totally not limited by nothing. And the only thing I could realize in my human ability was love. The only thing that I could translate to my way of understanding. And it was so strong that this love gave the life that I know and reality that I know. This is the way they understood God, what we say about God, or what we, and I think this is the main thing that even gave them the ability to be so developed by their consciousness. This awareness of the real essence of what give reality to be, what give life. And the understanding is that the real basis of the reality is this love, gave them a very comforting and happiness and the real enjoyment to do what they do. Because what they done by like visiting us, and it was like trying to continue this love that they felt even to more places. And it was like by contact, a place that is not aware to that light, for them is like lighting the place. It's like doing, like sharing this love, this life even more. And that's why today I think that the angels that is reminded in the Bible and the creatures that I saw, there is something very similar between them, because in the way they were being talked about in the Bible is that the angels doing God's work, like God sending them to do something, and the angels do. Mm-hmm. And the angels can change themselves and to look for us in a very different ways, but this is something else. But the main purpose of existence of the angels is to do God's work. And what I felt for them was very similar. They were very happy to live, to be alive. And they knew that they didn't invent themselves and it was not an accident. They knew that something very big and loving made them be and feel alive, and their joy was to continue his giving love, continue to do that with themselves, to share this ability of God of giving life, a new life and a new love to all around.
It's something that has been mentioned by other people who have had similar experience, that when they ask their guests or the visitors or these non-human intelligences, if they have an understanding of God, everyone relates the same thing, says that they have an understanding of this collective consciousness, of this energy, which is not a defined entity, but is it's pervasive through everything and everyone, including them. And again, quoting something that I heard in one of Grant Cameron's interviews, was that this chap who had an experience asked the same thing, if they believed in God, or what was their definition of God, and they said that I am one with the one that is all. You might have heard Grant mentioning that on every so often he mentions that on his, but this was quite strong and it stuck with me. It's I'm one with the one that is all. So
yes, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
On your book, you say that there was a moment when your rational mind kicked in, and you wanted to understand why that was happening. And I think that was when, if I'm not mistaken, that was when actually the whole communication kind of came to a halt, because one of them was looking at you and could not understand why you had this need to analyze it. Am I quoting you right on the book? Is that what more or less what happened?
Yeah, exactly. I must say that you're there are few people that could really got to understand the deepest thing in the book, because I don't give them very easy. And you really, the way we talked before, and what you write, I see that, and I think that you experience too, in a way, what I talked in the book, because this is one of the reasons that you really understand that. And yes, what happened there? It happened when I was in that what I felt of connecting to God. That was the point that I was very amazed by knowing that, or experience that love, that I wanted to know more. And for me to know more was to understand it in a rational way. We have the need, I have the need, we have the need to understand something, to really, and we think that this is the way we're going to have it, when we understand it in our rational way. So I wanted really to understand that love, that God, in a rational way. It's like I went deeper and tried to see what is beyond God. It's like to understand what, this is our rational way of thinking, cause and effect. And we want to understand everything by that. And when I did that, when I tried to understand it in a rational way, I felt that the visitor trying to hold me from that. And they were like feeling worried for me. It's like I'm doing something that could hurt me. And I didn't understand why. I think now I'm a little bit more understanding why. Because it was doing that was going beyond the limitation of my understanding. And that was dangerous, because I try to force or use the open consciousness that suddenly I had too much. And maybe my body could not handle it anymore. Maybe my consciousness is not good to open so fast, too soon to that. And I don't really understand the reason, but he was very aware that I'm going to hurt myself by doing that. and they stopped the communication from that.
Mm-hmm.
But what they did, they give me before they totally went out of the room, they gave me a vision of something that that I will remember in a, and that was the catastrophic vision of fire.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing was that they changed the way we communicate, and they started to give me a vision. It was not like like before that we just shared our consciousness with each other. Now they stopped this communication and started to give me a vision to look at.
Okay.
And they do it by they have the ability to give my consciousness a vision, and they do it by like there is a movie that I am inside of it. I suddenly saw myself in a very beautiful place outside on a green grass and cows around me, and I'm standing there. And it's like a movie that I'm inside, and I see the blue sky, a beautiful sky, and birds, and the cows were very calm and eating the grass, and a beautiful day. And suddenly I hear a strong roar from far away, and it became a strong fire from the horizon, very high fire from the horizon that came and burned everything, even the cows around me,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing left in a second. And the cows, a second before they were burned, they were looking at my eyes like saying or telling me it's your responsibility not to let it happen, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the cows felt that their life is in my hands and I should be protecting them. This is emotion that I felt from their eyes before they get burned. And from that, I felt very deep pain and sorrow, and a very strong understanding of responsibility to Earth, that I know that those visitors want me to have, and they almost forced me to understand. And it was not like they are saying to me, listen, this is going to happen. They showed that to me because they want me to be, to understand that this could happen if I will not change the direction of responsibility that I'm personally know now and others. It seems like they're trying to push me to look at things and be more responsible for the future of life, of everything around me, of Earth. And with that, they gave me even more understanding that this responsibility is not only because of the pollution and the smoke and the thing that human beings do and ruin the ecological Earth. It was even more. Like they warned me that my consciousness have responsibility for the nature. My consciousness, not only my doings, even my consciousness can harm nature, our consciousness. And it seems that they try to made me understand that my consciousness is connected to every living thing around. And like if my consciousness is like polluted with like bad things or bad thoughts or not loving something, it influences everything.
It's again a common point. A lot of people who have gone through experiences like similar to yours is that it's our responsibility of thought, of emotions, of words, and of acts, because everything we are creating every single time. And I think I'm no physicist, but I think that's for what I've been videos that I've been watching, that is kind of been confirmed to a certain extent by this by the quantum physics that's emerging, that we are active players in all the domains of reality.
Yes, I felt so excited to read in the first time the real meaning of the quantum physics. That what you said now is one of them, that quantum physics show in a laboratory that our thoughts, consciousness really influence matter, even if it's only the smallest thing that you can define in the physical world. It really influence. And if we understand that, it means that our consciousness and the particle parts of nature are the same, or they can talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And if they talk to each other, it seems that there is a common place between our consciousness, which is our thoughts, our feelings, our consciousness, our part of our consciousness, that is connected to everything, because the particles are the basis of everything, the ground, the floor, the wind, the bird, everything is made by these particles. And it's just the way you said, our consciousness is connected to that. And if we are like influence our consciousness, we are influence everything.
True. So I think it puts them, and I think to a certain extent is even if mildly, but I think maybe that's what something they want to convey to you as well, that it's our responsibility, and then we have to be conscious of what we do in every single second, to eventually to avoid, even if metaphorically, this fire that's going to ravish the whole of the cows. And
yes, and yes, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. You say, and then at that moment there, you realize the connection was cut, and then they were concerned about that you would eventually could possibly hurt yourself by taking a leap too far, and you're not prepared to. And then you said that there was a very peculiar way that they left the room.
Yes, after that vision, I came out of this vision, and I felt this very sad feeling of responsibility, like I was not responsible, and they started to go out of the room. And what they did was they were like going to the other side of the room and held each other hand in a circle and started to walk in a circle, like when we dance in a circle and we do it, we dance, and they started to walk holding hands, and that walk began to be much faster. And this circle became to be so fast that their body started to be transparent, and it became even more faster, that it became light, a white yellow light, and a very strong circle, very fast light that it looked like a real circle, lightning circle. And then the circle began to be close to be a small circle, very, very small point, till it was disappeared from my visual way of looking. I mean, it became so small that I couldn't see it anymore.
So they collapse themselves, like a supernova.
Yeah, like a circle that became very slow and then became to a point and disappeared. And what I felt, they are still exist, but not in my material world that I know and can see with my eyes. And that there are physical existence that I saw was held by their consciousness. They could be in a body form in our 3D physical world that I could see with my body, with my eyes and hear, but their consciousness can change it, and they can go out of our physical world to a different place that what I understand is a different dimension.
Which they don't need to have a physical body. Probably that's a very intelligent way to make sure that we don't completely freak out, because we live in a world of matter. So if they have a body, or if they manifest a body, if they create, they organize the atoms or the energy, densify it to have a body, probably for us it makes more sense. Our brain doesn't go in complete tilt, and then we can kind of have some understanding out of it, or make some sense out of it.
Yeah, it seems that their physical appearance, it's not only their ability of doing only with themselves. I think they do it with us. What I mean is that when we...
Sorry, I'm just closing the door here. Sorry.
Yeah,
go
okay.
on.
Yeah. When we are looking at them, it seems that we can see them because we are not only concentrated in our physical way of looking and see visual reality. When I saw them, I knew that the way they look to me, part of it is their way of being in the physical world, and it's combined with my consciousness, with my translation, with my way of trying to see something that is like not physical and physical. Because I cannot understand in a rational way something that is not physical, I try to translate it in a way for my visual imagination, or my visual, or my rational way of looking at things. And what they do, they like let themselves be in a physical world, and the way I look at them, it's a combination of my translation, the way I, as a person, translate them, and what they really show themselves, like in the physical world. So it's very flexible. And I think that this is one of the reasons that people said there are many kinds of creatures. I'm not positive, sure about that, but I think that the each one of us can see them and see something else.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way he sees it is the combination of his personal consciousness and his personality that translated in a way to a physical way of understanding. And he give them or he give himself a way to see it. And it's combined by his choosing or personality. And if you are afraid, for instance, it could look a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are very religious, you can see an angel with wings.
Exactly.
But you see the same thing. I mean, they all see the same thing, but because this visitor is much more open and much more flexible than we know about reality, he can be everything for us. And we do it by translating it in the way we think. And I think this is an answer for many, many questions.
Mm-hmm.
And in the other hand, one of the problems that all the investigation that try to understand is have a problem with the translation of understanding who they are. But I think that in the time people will understand that the way all this phenomenon is expressing itself is with our translation as a human being. And that's why
and this phenomenon would be this eternal giving of life that we define as God. Is this the phenomenon?
I think that the realization of God is something very basic from the point of view of the visitors. And the visitors are how do we, you asking how do we will think about that phenomenon? This is what that was your question?
The question was what would this phenomenon be in your opinion?
I think that there will be many aspects of that phenomenon that gonna really revolution our way of understanding reality.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, the religion. I think that the curtain is down from your behind. It's good, but it's okay.
It's all right. I have to. That was the thing that would stop the bounce the noise, but I'm not going to get up. That's all right. Carry on.
That's okay. The religion, there is now UFO researchers like Nick Pope from England that say that he thinks that when our humanity gonna be aware of the visitors, it's gonna be a very dramatic danger time for our religion, belief, and even sanity.
It's going to be
because of that. And what he refers, I think that I can understand why you say that. But from my understanding is that, for instance, this awareness of God from the creatures only gonna help people to really go to their personal understanding of God, and it's not gonna ruin any religion. It's not gonna destroy any belief, because the opposite, it's gonna deeper the understanding of the real idea of God. And if people will like to do it in a certain religion way, it's going to be okay. I mean, each one can choose the way to do that.
Exactly, because I think that background of commonality that you were talking about before, that they were one, but they also were many. That understanding of the common ground, of the infrastructure, will surpass the individual understanding of whatever God means to you or to me. It's going to be relevant.
Yes, yes, and I think that this is like one of the reason that, you know, I think in the Bible there is a deep understanding of reality in the way of that the visitor that I met understand. But it's not on the surface and being told in the religious way. But I believe it will be. One of the things, for instance, is that the name of God in the Bible is one.
Yes, you mentioned that in the book.
Yeah, and this is, I think, very simple, but you know, so strong with the meaning of that, because you know the creatures, the the differences between their thinking and our thinking is that exactly thing. We think in a dual way about the reality, good, bad, far, close, and they say and they experience everything as one. And for us, the idea of God is what we can achieve by our consciousness. We cannot understand what is God really. It's easy for us to think that God is something that creates us, but it's even more than that we cannot really comprehend with our rational way of thinking. But one of the things of that God for us is our development, our purpose, our direction of consciousness, of life. You know, nature is developing, and that's the way the nature is built, and we are too. And the development, evolution of our consciousness, I think, is that one. And that's why God named the name for our human in the Bible, the name of God is one.
And it makes such a difference, because it makes something so much more achievable, you know, so much more intrinsic to us, and something that makes it so much easier for us to understand that it's not that being unattainable that we have to keep always chasing to reach. It's something that it's part of us, and we are part of. You know, it's what we are, I think, and that's that realization. Whenever we come to that as humanity, that's going to be the big leap. That's going to be the change of the paradigm. It's not something that we're going to stop chasing it, him, her, whatever, and just chill, just relax, you know, and then
exactly.
Instead of understanding, I think then we're going to go back to what we were talking about before. You know, it's that we will know, and just be happy and clumsy walking around the room.
Yes.
One of the amazing chapters. So then that experience finished, right? The encounter was over. They left, they collapsed in themselves, and then you were left behind. And then what happened?
Well, just before of that, you know, all the time from the contact, I learn and learn more from the experience. It seems that they really left me with that experience to learn from.
Mm-hmm.
And only this last 2-3 months, I saw some scientists that says that if we will take matter and spin it very fast in the circle way, it's going to be light, and probably because of the strong energy and the movement, the matter gonna get passed to a place that without time and place.
Really? Okay.
Really, I will send you some
Link.
scientists that talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened after they went, I was shouting. That was my first reaction, because after they left, I felt relaxing of tense of, because in the end of the contact, I began to be afraid again. In that I began to be afraid again because I knew that something wrong happened and they closed the connection and they wanted to protect me. And I went back to my usual way of thinking, with fear, with everything. And when they left, I shouted from relief that this experience ended. And I went out of the room and sat in a chair. And I was very confused in that minute. I didn't know what happened. It was very weird, to have experience with these green creatures and all the things that they showed me. And so I sat on the chair and thinking, what is going to happen now with me? Am I going to be okay, or what's the meaning of all of that? And I looked at my hand, at the back of my hand, and suddenly I saw red lines on my skin.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at these red lines, trying to understand what it was, I realized that I can see my blood in the small veins. And this is because I can see like my sight become very, very strong, like a microscope.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked around to the trees, and I could see that I can look very far without my glasses, and I didn't have my glasses. And I suddenly see that I can see very sharp and very far away. And I can smell much more. And my ears became hearing much more sounds. And it was amazed me because they left already. And I knew that something happened to my body, physical body awareness now, because my consciousness is totally in my body now. I'm not out of my body anymore. I'm not with them anymore. It's only me and my body, and I can see something that usually I cannot. And I knew it's because of the contact that we had a couple of minutes ago. So I wanted to keep it. I knew that this is an ability that I'm going to lose in an hour or two. I felt that in my body. So what I did, I tried to look around and understand what happened to me, to my brain, that can do what I do now, that can see like that can hear like that. And I could see that my visual way is now much more richer, because when I see things, I can hear it too. You understand what I say? I could hear the color.
Fascinating.
And when I hear something like a bird in the other other side of the building, the voice have a visual form.
So all your
And
senses were connected. Similar.
yes, and by that I started to understood that something that happened to my senses that connect them now to each other, and they are working together, like they are give me the function. I am aware of their function with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And because I am aware of the oneness of my consciousness of these five senses, I can understand, my body can aware even more than before. And this is the same oneness that.
Yes, I was going to say, it sounds like a very diluted and a microscopic version to that oneness that you talked about before. Just on the realm of your senses, everything being united in one single perception and connected.
Yes, I realized that this oneness is not only an idea, a philosophic idea or thought. This oneness is really something that can be a key for a development in everything.
Mm-hmm.
And this oneness is like understanding the real reality, because the reality is one. There is oneness in the reality, and if our consciousness gonna be aware of that oneness, he is aware of the real what is now, that is the creator, that love, that everything. So this oneness is not an achievement of something that we didn't have. Like you said, it's something that we all have, and we are just started to be aware of that, because this is the reality is made by. It's all connected. And we are now bit by bit getting aware of that.
Yossi, there is an amazing chapter in your book. That's the chapter that you talk about when you did the regression, and I think that was vital for you to make sense of the whole picture. Yeah, I'm gonna get you back, so we're gonna talk about that and expand it a little bit more. But obviously, something like that changed you. Yeah, and this was about what, 20 years ago, no more than that, 1980, you said? So 40 years ago.
The contact itself 40 years ago. Yeah, I was 21. Yeah.
So obviously, and then you said something interesting that it kept the insights, they keep coming, and they're still coming. So much that it said like three weeks ago, whatever, you found out about the article about physics. So what is your understanding now, 40 years after, of the whole experience? Because obviously, and you mentioned that in the book, and people, you've got to get this book, because we've just covered chapter 1. What we're finishing out talking here, this man just described on the first chapter of the book. I know there must have been thousands of understandings throughout those 40 years, and probably these understandings, and I'll put them in plural, they are emerging probably on a daily basis in your life. But if you were to give a maybe broad definition or minute definition, whichever you prefer, of the purpose of that experience, what was the purpose of that happening to you? What was their purpose in taking you through?
I think to say it in a very simple way, it seems that they want to help us get through our time of difficulty now.
Mm-hmm.
To help us, stay alive and progress our consciousness. In the main thing for them is that it all depends on that our consciousness, if our consciousness going to be if we could use our consciousness in the right way, we can win everything. And this is the most important thing, and the reason that they came here to us. But they do it in a very gentle way, because otherwise we will not do it with our own development. What I mean, they try to give us like a small push to do that, but they're not going to do it for us. Mm-hmm. Because for the big picture, there's no reason someone else will do it for us. I mean, the reason we are here probably connected to the development that we are doing now. Mm-hmm. And so they help us to do our thing with our consciousness now. And I can see it everywhere now, that people realize that consciousness is one of the curious and our future of even science now. And consciousness influence everything, and one of the things that develop of our awareness of the wide field of our consciousness is going to be that we are going to be much more good for each other because of that. We will not have to try to be good. If our consciousness is going to be open, we will be good by experiencing each other. And then we will not have to work for, to think good. We will be. Mm-hmm. And we will be good with each other, and we will be helping each other, because we're going to see the real thing that is around us. And we're going to see the real neighbor, the real friend. We're going to see it much more inside. And then we're going to be transparent to each other. And this is going to bring peace, not the political world or economic or something like that. I think the main thing is our personal consciousness. This is the real thing that can change the world. And probably they want us to realize that.
So this is a difficult question, probably. If you were to give a practical suggestion to these people who are listening to us, how could they start exercising this evolution of our consciousness? One attribute that people could focus on developing to get slowly but surely to where we will eventually get.
Mm-hmm. I think there are many ways to do that. Mm. And you know what, I think meditation is a very good tool to rest from the rational way of thinking, mm-hmm. and having some time with our pure consciousness and soul, and that knows everything. Another thing, dreams are a very wise teacher that we can start to give attention to that. Mm-hmm. And we can start to realize our ability to telepathy, because I think telepathy is something that we are very close to achieve. even though it look very far now,
Mhm.
but any woman do it with their baby, and every loving relationship have this ability of telepathy. And if you will be more like playing with that, it doesn't have to be school or learning and the hard, it can be a game of playing with the one that you have some sympathy with, and trying to realize the telepathy there is. And this is going to be a very strong bridge to everything else in our consciousness, telepathy.
Mhm.
And this is my suggestion.
Mhm.
Suggest. I suggest.
Man, this was amazing. I wish we had 6 hours, 20 hours to go through just a few more points in the book, which all right, man.
Yeah, thank you. It was very, pleasant for me too to talk with you.
We're going to repeat it, yeah, because I think there's scope there for many other conversations like this one. Now,
Yeah.
where can people get this wonderful book of yours? Give us the name again of the book, please, and how we can get it. I got mine. I know how I got mine, but for those who are listening to us and people, it's one of the must reads. If you like this program and what this program is about, this book is just sensational. Yossi, how do we get hold of it? How do we get the book, man?
Well, it's very simple. It's on Amazon.
Amazon.
And you look for a book named, title is one, and then face-to-face contact, and you will see the book. The name is longer, but if you remember only one face-to-face contact, you're going to see the book.
Or they can search by author. They can search you, Yossi Ronen.
Yeah? Yes, or Yossi Ronen with double S, and you can see my site. In the site, there is a lot of writings and many conversation like with Grant that I think is much interesting.
So give us the name of your site, please.
It's one yossironen.com. It's one yossironen.com. It's a little bit complicated, but
one yossironen.com. So basically the name of the book and your name.
Yeah.
What if people want to reach you in another way? Social media, YouTube channel, do you have any of those?
Yeah, it's all in the site or in the Facebook, Yossi Ronen. Even YouTube, it's Yossi Ronen
channel
too. So it's going to be easy.
All right, my friend Yossi, once again, man, thank you very much. Peeps, you have to go and look this man up and read the book, because the book is an amazing eye-opener. And it's a superb and very candid story of what and how it changed the Yossi, and how I think it can assist us in hopefully one day becoming in one with this oneness. Yossi, if you can hang back a little bit, my friend, I'll just finish here, and then we can have final words. Thank you very much for being here, and hope you will be coming back again.
Thank you very much, Marco.
My pleasure. All right, my friends and listeners, thank you very much for listening to the show, and see you again maybe next week or whenever it's we're going to be having the next show. In the meantime, check the Facebook page Accelerating Change, or go to freefm.org.nz and look up Accelerating Change in there. Thank you very much. Kakite.